Hi students, today what we're going to be doing is we are going to be covering the safety unit on the jointer. Okay, the jointer is the machine that we will use to put a straight edge on the side or the edge of a piece of material. Like, as you know, we talked about yesterday that this piece of wood, this is a face, this is a face, and then the edge is what we're going to be using the jointer today to show you how to put a straight edge on there to allow for you to take this to another machine so that way you can finish squaring up the board. Okay, now there's a few things that we want to touch base on with the jointer before you start making any adjustments. As we talked about previously, if you can come on over here, and you can see the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lock the power out on the power box here, so no power is being delivered to the machine, so that way we can make all of our adjustments without having any problem or any worry of the machine starting up. So, coming over here, I want to take a look at, first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm not taking off any more than 1/16 of an inch per pass whenever I'm using the jointer. On here, I have a scale right here, it's set at 1/16 of an inch. And also, I'm moving the guard out of the way, just so you can see. This is the in-feed bed, this is the out-feed bed. The cutter knife is between the two of them. The in-feed bed is 1/16 of an inch lower than the out-feed bed. The out-feed bed must be level or parallel to the top of the arc of the cutter head itself. I'm going to spin this around. Like I said, there's no power. That's what the actual knife looks like, and there's 3 of them inside this cutter head. Okay, the top of this cutter head, this is the knife right here, is equal or on the same plane as the outfeed bed. Okay, so with that being said, I have that. So this is set to proper height. Now what I want to do is I want to check and make sure the fence is 90 degrees to the outfeed table. So how I do that is this. I loosen this up here, and I bring the fence back, okay? And then I loosen up this right here on the fence. All right, now, what I do is this is a pretty large plastic square. This is at 90 degrees, and this is what we want this outfeed bed to be with the fence is at 90 degrees. I take this in the outfeed bed and I slide this up to the fence. Then I grab this handle here and I move this until it's at 90 degrees. Once it's at 90 degrees, I can lock down this lever right here. I lock this down, and now I have this set. The fence and the bed is set at 90 degrees. That's what we're looking for inside of here. Okay? Now, all the material that I'll be running through here today is only 3/4 of an inch thick. So, I do not need 8 inches of knife available to me to go ahead and joint this board. So let's just be safe about this. I have this loose. I'm going to turn this handle here, and this will allow for me to move the fence in and out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this fence in to be approximately 1/8 of an inch longer than the thickness of the board. Okay? Whenever we're setting up any type of material or a machine, we want the cutter knife to be 1/8 of an inch more than the thickness of the stock. That's kind of the rule of thumb in all wood shops. That'll allow for you to go ahead and put your material through the machine without having to worry about having excess blade for any possible safety problem or safety hazard. So now I'm going to lock this in place. So now the fence is not going to slide back or forth, and it's been set at 90 degrees. I have this set 1/8 of an inch more than the thickness of stock. Let me just go ahead and grab this board here so you can see. There you go. So that way I know that I have this set properly. Also, this guard, we want to make sure that this guard is working properly. And working properly means that once it's sprung back, as you push material through, it will spring back for you. Okay? So we have that all set. All right? These right here are called push blocks. These are used if your hands cannot maintain a 4-inch margin for safety. You want to make sure that you can always have the opportunity of keeping your hands 4 inches away from any cutting tool in the shop. And this is not just for the jointer, but that's for all the tools in here. Always maintain a 4-inch margin for safety with your hands to a cutting tool, okay? Since this board is wide enough, I'm not going to need these, but I will show you how to use these properly with that machine, with that piece of material. Something I want to show you is that when you're joining a board, what you want to do is you want to look down the edge, and if you have a crown going this way, that's the side that goes down, so that means the crown side would be out. Now when I look down this board, I see a slight divot inside here. It slightly goes this way, okay? That means this side is going to go down on the surface or the bed of the jointer, okay? And typically, how the jointer will work is this, if I have a board, now this is going to be a little bit extreme, but it's just to prove a point. I have the board is kind of shaped like this, let's say, okay? This crown like this. The crown side is up, okay? Your first pass in the jointer, you're going to take a little bit here, a little bit off the surface here. Your next pass will be here and here. Your last pass will probably go all across the whole surface, and now you created a very straight edge on that one side, that one edge, all right? A little telltale sign is if you have it properly done, is you'll have a little smooth area on this end and a little bit of smooth area on that end. That means that the jointer jointed a little bit of material here, and it's still in the rough here. If you look at this board, you can see how this is pretty gnarly and gnarly here. So this whole board is still in the rough. I'm going to go ahead in a minute here and I'm going to joint this so that way you can see what I'm talking about, where the edges are addressed by the machine and the center isn't. That's how you'll know that you're doing this properly. Also, you should not have to take any more than 3 passes unless you can see there's a big arc to the board. If you happen to have a large arc to the board, try and cut it down to be 1 inch or a ½ inch longer than what's needed for the part that you're trying to make. That way it'll eliminate you jointing a whole bunch of times, removing material that's not needed to have happen, okay? So you can maintain the thickness or the width of the board longer, all right? Now, before I joint anything, I want to make sure my board has to be at least 16 inches in length for me to joint my board safely, okay? There's a bunch of different things I want to go over right now as far as hand placement, body placement, and how you should go about going through the machine. And we also have to make sure the dust collector is on. I'm not turning it on just this minute, but before I joint this piece of wood, I will make sure I turn that on, okay? Now, whenever I'm holding this and I'm using the jointer, I want to make sure my hands and my fingers are together, they're not spread out, okay? So, when I'm using this, I already know that this is 90 degrees, the fence is 90 degrees to the bed. I'm going to take this hand, what's nice and keep my fingers together. I place my hand here, maintaining a 4-inch margin for safety right here. I put my thumb on top, or I wrap my thumb around. Then I have my back hand, I make into a fist with my thumb out and place it on the back to allow for me to push the material through the cut. Now I'm going to just act this out even though the machine is not on. And what I want to make sure I do is I walk through the cut with my material. I do not overreach. I want to make sure that my body center is with the material. I'm not overextending myself where I could fall over, okay? I found that some students will do one of these where they're pushing the material through and they're overreaching. That's not good. We want to make sure that we have our feet underneath us and we go ahead and walk the material through. And you notice where my fingers are? Especially in my backhand, I do not do one of these. I make sure my hand is up and my part of my knuckle and my fist is pushing us through there, okay? So, we have that. Now, another thing is we want to make sure that we are not wearing any really loose clothing, because inside here we have a cutting head that's spinning it at an extremely high rate of speed, okay? With that being said, you don't want to get caught and pulled into the machine. So make sure your clothes are on you or tucked in. They're not really loose, that they're nice fitting, appropriately fitting, okay? Because we don't want to have anything loose going into the machine. So also I want to address is let's see, the grain. On this board, you can see that the crown side up is this way, right? We want to make sure that the grain is going down. Let me explain this. Let's say this is the bed of the planer. Here's the cutter head. Okay, well, I'm sorry, here. And this is the wood. We want, the cutter head is rotating in this direction. Okay, and then you have a knife here and a knife here. We have 3 knives. They're rotating around in this direction, right? If the grain to the board is going in this direction like this, and this is coming around this way, it's gonna blow out sections of the board there. What we want to have happen is this. We have the cutter head, the infeed. So let's say you're putting the material through this way. I have my board, it's like this. I want the grain to be going down in this direction. As the cutter head is coming